Hello, friends. Have you ever wondered why people from all over the world, in one way or another, prefer branded clothing? Perhaps to answer this question, we should consider what distinguishes ordinary items from branded ones. At first glance, it may seem that there is no difference. After all, the main thing is for the garment to fit well, be comfortable, and accentuate all the strengths while hiding the flaws. However, branded items consistently maintain their popularity year after year, not just because of the brand itself, but because of the quality and style they represent. Each respected brand creator invests something personal, something that sets their creation apart from others, believing that this fact adds a certain characteristic not only to the items, but also, of course, to their owners. The same happened with the equally famous brand Zara, whose style stands out among thousands of others. It is one of the leading retail chains of the Inditex group, which includes other popular brands such as Pull & Bear, Oysho, Stradivarius, Bershka, and many more. And in telling the story of the brand, we cannot fail to mention the one who is behind the idea of creating all these listed companies, Amancio Ortega. This seemingly ordinary guy dropped out of school at the age of 12 to later create one of the world's largest clothing store chains and unquestionably enter the list of the most influential and wealthy people globally. So, how did he manage to do that? What did he have to go through, and what was the entire journey like? That's what I'll tell you today. Amancio Ortega was born in the province of Leon, Spain, in a family of a modest railway worker on March 28, 1936, and became the fourth child. His mother was a simple housemaid in one of the wealthy families of the city elite. His father spent all his time repairing trains and rolling stock. 3 months after the boy's birth, the Civil War began in the country, and, hastily gathering their belongings, the family had to flee away from the war. It is worth mentioning that the move significantly affected the family's finances. They couldn't afford much even before, and now, in just a couple of months, they became impoverished. Often, his mother had to borrow food, humiliating herself in front of the storekeeper. In general, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the boy's childhood was far from a fairy tale. But our little hero didn't understand much. He didn't understand until the moment he went with his mother to that very store at the age of 12. Amancio later described this situation as one that forever changed his consciousness and probably his entire life. I remember how one day, after school, I went with my mother for food. I was very small, and she used to meet me at school. The store we entered was one of those large grocery stores with such high counters that, in fact, I couldn't see who was talking to my mother. But I heard a male voice that said something that passed through time within me and was never forgotten. "Josefa, I'm sorry, but I can no longer sell you goods on credit." I was shocked. I was only 12 then. This event left a deep impression on the little boy's memory. That day, he decided that he would never allow such a situation to happen to his mother again. The next day, the mother took the boy to school again, but at that time, she couldn't even imagine that her 12-year-old son would never appear in an educational institution again. He waited for his mother to leave and, instead of going to classes, went in search of a job. It's worth mentioning that it took him only a few days to find a job as a messenger in a shirt store. At first glance, the job seemed straightforward for the boy, but he diligently performed all his duties and even took on extra work. He wasn't lazy, and his efforts were immediately noticed. He could not only help with cleaning, but even advise customers, which brought him unprecedented pleasure. He only told his mother about dropping out of school and going to work when he brought home the first money, 2 weeks later. Thanks to his sociability and charisma, the boy was offered the position of an assistant in one of La Maya's boutiques, where his brother and sister were already working by that time. And this, my friends, was at the age of 15. It took him only a few more years to become one of the best employees in that boutique, for which the management generously rewarded him, making him the manager of the entire store. By that time, he was already in his 20s, and it was at this moment that Amancio met the girl who forever changed his world. Rosalia Mariganci became the young boy's best friend and mentor. Since the age of 11, the girl had worked as a seamstress, just like him. She couldn't finish school and worked hard to help her family in any way possible. A few years later, Amancio proposed to Rosalia to become his wife, and, of course, she agreed. Working at La Maya became the meaning of life for the young man. There, he learned all the intricacies of purchasing goods and working with suppliers. He delved into the nuances of tailoring and even managed to find gaps in the processes of clothing manufacturing. It was this ambitious man who decided to use this experience to his advantage. Yes, friends, it was this man. Because smoothly, we have arrived at the year 1972, when Amancio was already 37 years old. It was then, having saved some money, Amancio and his brother Antonio decided to open their small clothing company, which they named Confections GOA, initials reversed. It was challenging to call it a company at first. Initially, along with his wife Rosalia Mera, they sewed robes, nightshirts, and lingerie in the living room of their own home. Later, they rented a space, just 3 by 4 meters, in one of the old semi-basement buildings. Thanks to his charisma, Amancio could win people over. When he left La Maya, several employees followed him, who later became his first team. All the money earned from production went into purchasing new equipment necessary for expanding production. As for sales, they were carried out thanks to previously established connections. Every month, the workshop gained new seamstresses, mostly wives of sailors who were willing to work for a small salary just to avoid staying at home. However, perhaps all of this would have remained at a local level, and the well-known Zara brand would never have appeared if not for what happened in the distant year 1975. It was then that the spouses opened their first branded store, and it is worth saying that the brand's name also happened by chance. Initially, the store was supposed to be called Zorba after the character in the movie Zorba the Greek, but for some reason, it proved impossible. Amancio wasn't upset and simply chose the similar-sounding word Zara. This is how the new name Zara was accidentally coined, which translates from Persian as gold. The most interesting thing is that the entrepreneur didn't even intend to open a store, it was a forced measure for him. It turned out that one of the suppliers had ordered a large batch of goods from Amancio but backed out at the last moment. Since the customer was trusted, they worked without prepayment, and our hero had invested all his savings in this batch. In general, it turned out that the items had to be sold in the shortest possible time to recover the money. It was impossible to find a large buyer wholesale, so the decision was made to open their first store in the city center of La Coruña, opposite the department store, which became a costly investment for Amancio. But at that time, he didn't see any other way. The unnecessary batch sold out in just a month, and the new collection that appeared in the store was swept away in just a few days. The thing was that Zara's shelves featured not just clothing, but replicas of models from famous fashion houses. Even then, Amancio chose a glamorous niche for himself, but the main advantage over competitors was the quality of clothing and its low price. The store proved the success of the company, and Ortega began opening new Zara stores in his city. Just a few years later, Zara became a recognizable brand throughout Galicia, business was thriving, and items were flying off the shelves. Amancio paid special attention to details, he loved beautiful clothing and understood it well, so the quality of the goods was always top-notch. And importantly, each product had its unique taste and charm. It was like nothing unusual, yet the clothing was more beautiful than ordinary, so to speak, market clothes, and cheaper than expensive boutique items. In short, the golden mean between the two. With each passing year, the company's ranks grew, and production became larger and larger. It was no longer just a workshop, but a huge factory that could supply a network of 30 stores. Until 1988, just 13 years after opening the first store, Zara was represented throughout Spain, and many young and creative geniuses worked in the company, investing their souls in its development and giving something new to its consumers. In December 1988, Zara opened its first store abroad, in neighboring Portugal. In 1989, a Zara store appeared in New York, and in 1990, one opened in Paris. All of the company's production remained in the hands of Amancio. The turnover of goods was so large that the entrepreneur had to develop a new design and distribution process. After all, what every second brand enthusiast would wear in the new season depended on him. His main task became anticipating the preferences of his customers and quickly selling the already manufactured goods. This gave rise to the term fast fashion, which allowed the entrepreneur to react quickly to changing consumer tastes and consistently stay on trend. At that very moment, a person entered the company, forever changing the world of the garment industry. Thanks to the well-coordinated work of Jose Maria Castellano, the period of design development, clothing production, and its availability for sale was reduced to 15 days. Just imagine, within 15 days, the Zara brand not only develops something new, trendy, and fashionable, but also manages to manufacture, distribute, and often sell it. And all of this within just 15 days. The turnover for such a business is quite high, allowing the company to thrive. Success in both manufacturing and sales led Amancio to another significant decision in his life. The entrepreneur decided to create another company called Inditex, aiming to elevate the Zara brand to a new international level. Inditex became the company that worked directly without intermediaries, fully controlling the procurement of all materials, logistics, and design development. Perhaps it's hard to believe now, but 15 years after the opening of the first store, Amancio Ortega established a production and trading conglomerate that only lagged behind G&B, USA, and H&M, Hennes and Mauritz, Sweden, at that time. Since the 90s, Inditex began collecting brands, aiming to expand its target audience. In 1991, the youth clothing brand Pull & Bear was created. In 1995, the brand Massimo Dutti joined the Inditex holding, and in 1998, the first clothing store for young girls named Bershka was opened. But that wasn't all. In 1999, Inditex acquired the company Stradivarius. Rapidly expanding, by the end of the 90s, the total number of stores started to grow rapidly, bringing the entrepreneur about $400 million in net profit annually. This figure continues to grow each year, roughly around 39%. Thanks to his managerial talent and incredible ambitions, in 2011, Ortega entered the top 10 richest people in the world according to Forbes. On October 23, 2015, the owner of Inditex managed to dethrone Bill Gates, the traditional leader of the ranking. Since 2011, the company has been managed by one of Ortega's successors, Pablo Isma. Appointing Isma as the captain, Ortega clearly made the right choice. By the end of 2017, the second CEO of Inditex managed to double the most-selling network of the Zara holding, which now contributes to 70% of the corporation's total revenue. At the moment, Ortega still owns Inditex, holding almost 60% of all shares. In telling the success story, we have not touched on one of the most important topics: why is the Zara brand so popular today? The answer is straightforward. Firstly, it is one of those brands that quickly releases fashionable and trendy clothing and regularly updates its product line. Secondly, this clothing is not only stylish but also comfortable and in demand in its price category. And thirdly, Zara creates addiction. The day of product delivery is called Z-Day for a reason. Thousands of brand enthusiasts eagerly await and track it. After all, the clothing there doesn't linger, in the literal sense of the word. The collection stays in the store for no more than a month, and if any model doesn't sell well, it is quickly removed from the showcase. All of this made the business of a simple son of a housemaid the most successful in the world. It's interesting to note that you rarely see Zara advertising, as the brand allocates only 0.3% of the company's budget for it. The brand sees no need to spend large sums on promotion and shooting various advertisements because everyone knows about Zara, from Katie Holmes and Olivia Palermo to the royal family. Duchess Kate Middleton and Spanish Queen Letizia have been spotted wearing Zara outfits multiple times. This is certainly better than any advertising billboards. As for Amancio Ortega's personal life, he has been married only twice. The first wife, Rosalia Mera, with whom they started this long journey, divorced in 1986. Amancio married Flora Perez Marcotte for the second time in 2001, and they continue to live together. The businessman has 3 children: Sandra, Marcos, who was born with a severe form of congenital disability, and Marta. In 2001, Amancio established the Amancio Ortega Foundation, a private nonprofit organization aimed at supporting various activities in the fields of research, education, and science. Today, The net worth of a man who never finished school is estimated to be around $97 billion as of 2018, according to Wikipedia. So, it's safe to say that this figure has likely increased by about 10% over the years. Amancio has consistently remained in the top 10 of Forbes' list over the past decade. At the age of 84, he currently enjoys life in his 43-story skyscraper in Madrid. He also owns the Epic Residences and Hotel, a 54-story condominium and hotel on the Miami coast, where he likes to spend his time. Additionally, Amancio Ortega has a passion for horseback riding and poultry farming, which serves as his hobby. As for Zara, as of October 31, 2014, there were 1,895 stores of this brand worldwide, located in almost all developed countries. Zara stores feature 7 main product lines: men's and women's clothing, lower and upper garments, footwear, cosmetics, and accessories. Zara's catalogs also include a children's clothing line. The maximum size for the women's line is 12 in the USA scale. Despite any criticisms of the brand, there have been cases where Zara products were completely sold out in stores due to high demand. This, perhaps, is the best evidence that Zara is the preferred choice for hundreds of thousands and even millions of people worldwide. People often say about Zara, it's one of those brands that suits everyone. In any store, you can easily find exactly what you need. And if you're wearing Zara, you can rest assured that you look good. In conclusion, this is the success story of a man named Amancio Ortega, who, once dropping out of school, decided to help his parents, unknowingly that his name would soon join the list of the richest and most influential people globally. Interestingly, he started his business at the age of 37, proving once again that it's never too late to begin, as I often mention in our videos. Friends, how do you feel about this brand and Zara in general? Have you ever worn their products? If yes, what reviews can you share? Please write about it in the comments. Well, for today, that's all. Subscribe to the channel, rate the video, and see you soon. Bye.